In part 1 of this video, we created the 6 worksheets we needed for our dashboard. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I will link it up in the card above or in the description down below. In this second part, we are going to finalize our dashboard. We're going to format it. We're also going to add our action and our filter that will make our dashboard more dynamic. Let's get started. Let's just review this dashboard again. We actually have a lot of components that are stacked one on top of the other. So the header right here is composed of 3 different components. You have a logo, you have text, and also another worksheet. Right underneath it is another worksheet that has all of the big numbers. Underneath it, we also have another container that has 2 things. This is a worksheet that only simply has the dynamic titles, and we also have a filter. Underneath that, we have 2 charts. We have the map, and we also have the profit timeline. And at the very bottom, we also have our footer. So let's do this slowly. Let us start with the header. Let's create a new dashboard. And in here, majority of the components are actually stacked one on top of the other. So I'm going to choose a vertical layout container. It will help me organize a lot of the components in this dashboard. Let's drag over the vertical layout container. And I'm also going to place 2 blanks right away, because this will help me keep the orientation in place. Now for the header components, they're actually contained in yet another container. We have a horizontal layout container that allows our logo and our text and our menu to sit side by side. So in here, we're going to drag over a horizontal layout container. I'm just going to resize this a little bit. Let's add a logo. We can fit the image and center the image. We can also add our menu to the right because this is a horizontal container. Just make sure that the grayed out area is actually within the horizontal container, the smaller horizontal container, and not the big vertical container. And between these two, we're going to add text. Let's drag that over, put the text right here. Let's type in executive dashboard. Make the font really big, make that bold, change the color if you need to, and click OK. Let's remove any extra legends that may have been imported when we added our menu worksheet. Just remove this one, move that, we don't need it. So we can resize each component so it fits nicely within this space. We can also format this text, so right-click, format text object, and in here we're just going to align this center and middle as well. Actually, let's align this at the bottom. There you go. And let's also give some more space to our menu. Drag that over, and in here we can simply select this, set the fit to entire view, and again just resize everything. Once we're happy, we can select the container. So in here we can select any component, double click on the handlebar until it selects the container, and from here on the drop down we can fix the height so it's not going to be affected anymore as we push things around. And at this point, we can take away the blank placeholder that we've placed earlier. So in here, just remove that. The next thing we should add are these 2. This is the worksheet that has the big numbers and also our footer. So drag this over, and we can also put the footer right down below. So for the footer, select that one, set the fit to entire width, and you can see that it fits nicely in that space. We need to adjust the size of our big numbers. So in here, we can just change this, adjust the size right here. And once we're happy, we can select this. On the drop down, we can set this to fix height if you haven't fixed the height yet. So if you don't see any check mark in here, you can fix that height. Next thing we should add should be this title. We don't have the filter yet, but once we add it, we're going to place it right beside this dynamic worksheet. So what we need is another horizontal container. We're going to put our dynamic title inside and also just a blank as a placeholder. We will take this out later on. And set this a little bit and select this worksheet, set this to entire view and make some adjustments. Let's go back to the map worksheet. Since we want this to be filtered by region, we can add region to our canvas. Let's drag it over and put it in detail. The last set of charts we need to add, it's going to be the map and the time series graph. It's also going to be contained in a horizontal container. So let's add our horizontal container. And at this point, we can remove that blank placeholder that we've added earlier. So let's remove that now. Let's add our map as well as our timeline. And notice in here that there are new containers that Tableau introduces. We are simply going to remove these because we are not going to display this in this particular dashboard. We are also going to hide the title for the map. So right-click, hide title. And from here, we are going to surface the region filter. So selecting the map on the drop-down, under filters, we can select region. Let's change the form of this filter first. So instead of a multiple values list, let's display this as a multiple values drop-down so that it doesn't occupy as much space. Let's take this filter and let's put it right beside our dynamic titles worksheet. And at this point, we can remove our blank placeholder as well. So let's just remove that one and also rearrange some of these items. Now let's add some interactivity using actions and filter. So for our menu worksheet, we can simply select that. We can click on this funnel icon. And what this does is it actually sends the value of category to all the worksheets we have in the dashboard. So by default, it's going to filter all of the worksheets. For now, we are going to rely on this default behavior. I will have a separate video talking about the different kinds of actions in Tableau. In here, you're also going to notice that as you hover over this icon, it actually says use as filter. So once we use this as filter, and once we select different categories, notice that all the values in the worksheet are actually changing. Now that we have added the action, we can change our title to show which category has been selected. So from here, we can double click on this title. So in here, double click, and we should be able to insert the category value that has been selected. So under insert, category, you can apply. So right now it actually shows all category. Let's actually also just change the color so it's obvious that this is a dynamic phrase that might change when you make different selections in Tableau. So in here, just make it a little bit different color. So let's just test this out. If we select furniture, it should say furniture. If we select office supplies, it should change to office supplies. Now, if you want to change that phrase so that it toggles between category and categories, what we can do is we can create a calculated field and use that calculated field in the title. So for example, in here, let's go to this sheet, create a calculated field. So on the drop down, create calculated field. I'm just going to call this category/categories. So if the count distinct of category is greater than 1, then it's categories, plural, else category, and then end. We can place this in detail. We can replace our title now. Instead of category hard-coded, we can double click on this, just simply change this to the category categories. So let's test this out. So under dashboard, when we select furniture, it should be singular. When we select office supplies, singular. Should we select two categories, let's say furniture, control click office supplies, it should be plural. Okay. One more thing to notice, let me just quickly go back to this worksheet. So let's go back to this worksheet. When you have added an action, this is what you're going to see in your filters tab for any of the worksheets that may be affected by the action. So there's going to be one more pill in there, and the font for the action filter is actually in italics, and you're going to see that it also has some kind of a Venn diagram symbol with it. Let's go back to the dashboard. Now let's set up our filter. So for this particular filter, what we need this filter to do is to only filter the map and the time series graph. And we also want to be able to use the filter value in the title. So let's set up the filter first. In this case, on the drop down, apply to worksheets, we're going to select specific worksheets. We want this filter to affect the title, which is that. The map is already the default, and the timeline is the one that has the 6-week moving average. So let's select all of those. So title and profit timeline. Let's click OK. Let's try this out, maybe central and east. There we go. So we can see the charts are actually changing as we change these values. And right now, let's change the title of this worksheet. So double click on that. And in here, we can simply add the new region value. So in here, region. We can color this region differently so it gives that visual cue that this is dynamic. So click OK. All region, maybe central, east, south. Good. And we can create the same calculated field for region if we want to toggle between plural and singular. And let's just do that. So in here, new calculated field. This one is going to be region/regions. If count distinct region is greater than 1, then it's regions. Else, it's going to be singular region end. Okay, let's make sure we add region and regions to our detail or your tooltip. Both of them will work. And we can take away the region now because we already have added or introduced our new filter. So we can take this away. And in this case, double click and change this hard-coded value to the new region/regions calculated field. And let's test out the dashboard. So if we select a single one, it should be singular. If we select more than one, it should be plural with an S. Now the final touches that we need to do will be formatting our tooltips. So let me quickly do that. And usually before we publish our dashboards, we're going to hide the individual worksheets. So in here, from menu all the way to footer, I'm going to right click and I'm also going to hide them. And it's called this dashboard, our executive dashboard. And when you're ready to publish this to Tableau Server, you can go to Server, sign into your account. And once you're signed in, you can publish your workbook. So here on the server, publish workbook. I am getting an error because I'm trying to publish to Tableau Public and I do need to extract the data from my Excel file. So let me just quickly do that. So right click, extract our data, click on extract. Once we have extracted our data, we go to server, publish workbook. We can give it a name. This is going to be the executive dashboard and we can save it. And this is it. This is our step-by-step, start to finish example of creating your basic Tableau dashboards. There are many different ways of creating dashboards. I hope you were able to find something useful, maybe some new tricks, or at least some kind of a general sense of how the end-to-end process works. I will have additional videos on dashboarding in the future, getting into more details about actions and other components. If you have other suggestions for topics, please let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I publish weekly videos on data-related topics. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you again next time.